3, 2, 1. The large metallic doors slowly slid open to reveal the long white corridor ahead, clean and immaculate. To all the guards that roamed these halls, it was another day. For you, though, it felt so clinical, so cold. You never got used to the atmosphere of Tartarus prison, no matter how many times you visited. Reaching the end of the corridor, you raised your arms to allow the guards to scan your person. 3, 2, 1. Just like every other day, they would scan for any objects on your person. The occasional phone never made it past this stage, oftentimes having to relinquish it to the guards before you moved on. You smiled at them every time, always joking about your forgetfulness despite the job you had to do. It was the same every visit. At the gates, your car would have to get monitored and scanned for any foreign or dangerous objects. At the door, you were stripped of anything on your person except for the clothes on your back. Then after going through a second checkpoint, you were led underground. No floors, just a one-way ticket, in and out, to visit the most dangerous villains locked away, tucked away from society. 6 months. You had been visiting one man for 6 months, having to observe his mental state and his well-being in the high-security prison, after a request from the High Warden about his readings. It was a good thing after a while that they allowed a simple notebook and pen for you to note down your readings. As a professional, without the use of any recording device, and with no access to Tartarus's recordings themselves, it was the least they could allow. Three, 2, 1. The doors to the waiting room opened to reveal what awaited for you on every visit. A simple chair, a glass-paned window, and Kai Chisaki strapped to an upright bed. Every time, he looked defeated, always at war with his thoughts and his mind. Just watching him almost made you feel sorry for him. "Thank you," you spoke to the guards by the door. "I'll make myself comfortable." You watched the guards nod in compliance before they left you to your devices, your eyes spying on the weapons they held in hand. Carrying large weapons seemed a bit excessive, too much bravado for your tastes before you took your seat. Chisaki's eyes were downcast for a while, his face open without his mask, while you made yourself comfortable, opening the notebook in your lap with pen in hand. 3, 2, 1. "Hello, Chisaki," you greeted calmly before his eyes met yours. "How are we today?"
"I'm not fine,"
he answered.
"I hate it here."
"Being honest today?" you asked with a smile.
I hate to admit it, but yes. I don't belong here.
"Be careful, Chisaki," you warned, looking dead in his eyes. "I'm only here to help you through your process, not alert any unwanted attention. Remember, the walls have ears." Chisaki bowed his head in frustration, eager to speak his anger, but not to warrant any fire from the turrets that aimed in his direction from inside his room. You also peeked into the room, noticing the turrets moving ever so slightly, according to Chisaki. "I can see your frustration. Being alone in a room with 4 white walls can do that to somebody," you commented, your eyes peering up at the turrets in the room. "It's a surprise that for so many years, you're still harboring some conflicted emotions."
What is there to be conflicted?
he questioned with a presence despite his state of being.
This world is not equal, and all I wanted to do was level the playing field.
Yes, we had discussed that. You continued, sifting through your notebook to a previous entry. But you wanted more than this grand scheme. Surely there was something a little more personal, right? After all, you never explained about your arms. Chisaki stared back into your calm eyes, a fire burning in them before he looked downcast again. You've come to the fact that this was his way of either ignoring your question or refusing to answer it. Either way, the approach did not serve any purpose. You flipped through your notebook again, finding another old entry of yours. Is it a form of shame? You asked, catching a side glance from the villain in question. Are you ashamed of what had happened in transit?
You've read up on that?
He asked, now curious about all of these questions from a mere psychologist. If I have to read up on my clients, I have to know exactly what they had gone through. You reiterated with a calm and steady tone. You were the head of the BNHA Hisaikai, a large organization brought down to its knees by 3 hero agencies, and then by all accounts, stolen from another criminal organization when you were down on yours, figuratively speaking. The more you described the events, the warmer Chisaki felt, his blood rushing through his body fueled by rage, shame, and frustration. The years stuck in Tartarus had made him question his motives, his purpose, and his reasons. He knew he was doing right by the boss. In a new age of quirks, whether hero or villain, adaptability was key, and that meant providing the needs to the 90% that were. You watched the villain stare at nothing, in war with his mind again, while you eyed the turrets, still in motion with every little movement Chisaki made. After many visits, you knew where the cameras were behind your head, where the microphone was stationed to communicate, and most of the wiring in the prison, at least when regarding the former leader of the BNHA Hisaikai. You were sure you counted the timing right. If we go through the process and if you trust me, we can ease your mind. Just a little. You reassured, turning another page in your notebook.
How much can I trust you?
Questioned Chisaki, glaring at you. You eyed the turrets, noticing for a brief moment a slight shiver in their movement before they slowly powered down. Should the timing be on point, the cameras behind you would be either put out or on a loop. The microphone system would... Perfect. You quickly brought your notebook to the window, swiping it across the pane while the papers tore one by one, lining the glass in a row. With a flick of your pen, you ignited a small flame, lighting the pages as they began to fizzle before a burst of light exploded from them. Chisaki turned away from the light and the blast, finding that it only just fractured the thick glass before him, a black charred line, the only remnants left of the explosives. He squinted at the sight, finding you by the window before the sound of electricity caught his ear, a surge of it striking next to him, but not harming him. Amongst the static that followed, 3 beings appeared, one of them immediately lining his side of the glass with the same paper explosives that you had laid on yours. As quickly as they were laid, they were ignited, while the other 2 shifted his makeshift prison around to shield him from the blast. The glass shattered upon impact, the strain of the explosives freeing him from the room before he felt the shackles from his straitjacket loosen from the swipe of a blade. Chisaki, freed from his bed, turned to find two young men and a young girl in face masks, ready to escort him through the broken window. He eyed the masks, finding each of them uniquely designed. The sound of gunfire caught your ear from behind, staring at the door that locked you inside the visiting room before it turned silent. A creaking echoed before the sight of the door crunched into itself, torn from its hinges and thrown across the long corridor behind, revealing another group of three standing by the now open doorframe. Two men and a woman, all with face masks. Chisaki witnessed the scene while he was escorted over the broken glass. With a nod from each member present, they all dispersed, leaving Chisaki and yourself in the room. One of the men, before leaving, pulled from out of nowhere two weapons, a large dagger and a cane, handing them to you. You received them in kind, latching them onto your person before the man swiftly made his way through the corridors himself. The sound of more gunfire, men and women yelling and screaming, and an explosion or two echoed somewhere in the distance, ahead and above. The shockwaves of whatever battlefield occurred elsewhere reverberated through the walls and the floor, catching Chisaki's attention on the most minute details. 6 months, you commented while you approached Chisaki. 6 months in this cell, getting to know you. It's been an honor.
This whole time, you've been plotting?
He questioned, surprised and impressed from the effort. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't difficult at first, you admitted. We had to forge all forms of communication just to get me through the door. I'm just blessed to have someone who can vouch for my credentials. You turned towards the cameras, waving a salute at the lens. You could see it respond, its lens moving and zooming into the both of you, present in the now destroyed visiting room.
And your sessions?
All opportunities to learn the framework of Tartarus, the guard routes, the camera setups, the checkpoints. Time was our only enemy until now. The deep bass of explosions constantly shook the walls, risking the integrity of their strength in the aftermath of your prison break. Dust and debris danced around, causing Chisaki to inspect the room that once held him captive for years. They'll be fine, you spoke in passing. They're just paving the way for your escape.
Tell me, why am I so important to you?
He asked again, the skepticism in his voice evident. We all have a purpose, and your cause resonated with each and every one of us. This is our way of saying thank you.
How exactly are you going to get me out?
He questioned skeptically, almost faithlessly. He caught your eyes smiling back at him before you turned to your watch on your wrist, watching the seconds tick away while your fingers counted down from 5, 4, 3, 2. The buzz of electricity shot from the corner of Chisaki's cell, striking from one of the now defunct turrets and landing directly beside you, catching Chisaki by surprise. There, standing beside you, was a sprightly young man, his body surging with an electrical current that danced around his being. His eyes smiled, obviously revealing what may have been a grin behind the mask he wore.
Wizen's under alright for now,
he informed with a joyful tone.
I can take you both up top when you're ready.
Chisaki stared in skepticism, wondering what other means of transport could be made from underground since the only elevator in and out from here. He wasn't caught unnoticed, though, when a chuckle erupted from your person at the look on his face. Wires is energy incarnate, you explained. He can travel through any mode of transport through electrical currents or radio waves, and can take up to 2 others with him at a time.
Pleasure,
he piped. From within your pockets you pulled out a mask and offered it to Chisaki on approach, knowing full well of his aversion of human contact from others, especially those he deemed strangers or unworthy. With confidence, knowing full well of his handicap, you offered the mask close to his face, smiling up at him. Please, accept us as your new precepts to use as you please. You bowed your head in respect, as did Wires with a slight bow himself. While the gunfire, explosions, and destruction laid waste to all that occurred above, Chisaki gazed at the face mask in your hands while he reflected on his thoughts. To escape this wretched place was one thing, but to receive an army along with that, no matter how small, was almost a blessing. The very opportunity to reclaim and to rebuild what he had lost filled him with a sense of power and entitlement again. Feelings that he had lost thrice over in a span of those 2 hours long ago. Your head still laid low before you spotted his feet on approach, lifting your gaze towards his. You saw a glimmer in his eye, nothing like you had seen during the 6 months under reconnaissance speaking with him. It was almost uplifting. With a smile, you slowly approached Chisaki with the face mask, placing it upon his face. His eyes rejuvenated from the feel of the fabric against his skin, the shadow of a smirk etched from behind it. Chisaki hummed in reply, eyeing you curiously now, his doubt in the efforts disappearing from his once sullen expression.
No one has ever broken out from Tartarus,
he commented.
You must have a death wish.
You smiled as you pulled a face mask of your own, slipping it onto your ears before your eyes smiled at him. I pride myself on that, you retorted, smirking from underneath your mask. Let's go home. You waited until Chisaki nodded in agreement, eyeing the room still shaking from whatever catastrophes laid waste above. Wires approached him with an open hand, holding onto Chisaki's shoulder while opening his other towards you. You gladly took it, feeling the static of his quirk resonating within your palm. It'll be over soon, you reassured Chisaki, until the spark of Wires' quirk coursed through your body, leaving the now destroyed cell empty of life.